Hi, today we're in the rain garden in the middle of the William Angus Institute, and yeah, it's almost about to rain, so I think that's a good name.
So we're also here with something very special today.
Oh, sorry, I'm in the middle of a rain dance in the rain garden, but I look, moderate success. I've bought some cloud, but I think I need to keep dancing to get the rain to.
I think
to
you
fill,
do.
To fill a sort of 150 ml pipe like that, I'm going to have to. I'm really going to have to dance with this baby here to get that filled with water.
So I came down here yesterday. It's the first time I've seen this garden, and I am blown away because in the middle of this high-rise courtyard is a food forest. This is amazing. So I wanted to kind of go for a bit of a walk through here and ask you about too, what are other places that have inspired you? You go around the country all the time. What have you seen that really fills your cup? And have you seen other really amazing inner urban places like this that just are starting to transform things? It's a new thing. This is like a hidden garden in the middle of the city. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, look.
Should we wander down this way a bit?
All right.
Well, maybe let's just come down here and have a look.
The living green rain garden. Here it is. Now, I think what's really exciting, some of the great stuff that I'm seeing, particularly in Sydney City's doing it and some of the other councils are doing it, they're installing rain gardens on the streets. So basically blowing out a bit of the nature strip, turning it into a detention tank with some plants in it, so that the stormwater peaks go in there. And it's great on steep streets too, because it slows that water down, goes in, builds biomass that can be chopped and dropped or chopped and composted, and then it also filters all of those surface
so many issues simultaneously.
And one of the things that we were doing and that we've been trialling as part of International Compost Awareness Week is actually, rather than filling those with sand, filling them with compost.
Yeah, right.
Because
Fantastic.
the compost has the microbes and they'll actually clean it. And if you think about it from the point of view of closing a loop, imagine if the green waste from your street is composted and returned to the street drains to clean the water that then goes into the creeks and rivers and lakes and dams and waterways that you swim in or recreate in.
Yeah.
You just think,
this is amazing, because a question a lot of people ask me when I'm going around is like, well, I live up in an apartment somewhere. I don't have a backyard to bury my compost. What am I going to do with it? You know, I don't have a community garden down the road that I can take it to. But if there were things up and down our streets like this that we could actually take our compost to, or I don't know, find way. I mean, it's a huge issue. There's so much waste in our cities and so much opportunity to do something interesting.
Exactly, and I think the thinking, when the thinking actually keeps the material local, you're eliminating trucks. Yeah. You're eliminating facilities that need to store and then return it.
Yeah.
I suppose there's transition. You could start with centralised composting and then slowly come up with solutions that are capable of adapting to different scales. Yeah. You know, making blanket policy and blanket guidelines. I think we're going into a really interesting time, not only politically, but I think politically in terms of our social hierarchy and institutions and our neighbourhoods, and that's an evenness. It's not about this party movement. You're either with us or you're against us. You either fit this guideline or you don't. You know, or this policy. It's got to be a policy because that footpath can't be anything greater than this, or you can't make that verge garden within 2 metres of the...
And that just destroys great initiatives and so much enthusiasm, and people disappear from projects, don't they?
They do, and I think this approach to be inclusive and to not just blanket things for this ease of a system of politics that is it's irrelevant now. Like we've got a system where the representation is not representative of the people.
No.
You can't have this two-party system that doesn't exist out on the ground anymore. No. Yet at the same time, we're kind of left with the ramifications of this, and people are on the ground trying their best to make it work. And they're actually the projects from my travels that I really love to see. And I think some councils get it around the country.
Yeah.
Others don't.
Yeah.
And I just see the juxtaposition.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Because, here I'm going over to Perth where they're just trying to open the door and open the opportunity for people to grow food.
Yeah.
Grow it locally in parks, grow it on their in their gardens and in the street spaces around them. And then you've got others wanting to be draconian and still keep control. It's by the people, for the people, of the people.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
Absolutely.
And coming to grips with the whole fear-based paradigm, I think it's breaking down.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So-
people and food.
Yeah.
And this might seem political, but food is a survival thing.
Yeah.
And if it's survival, people have to put their heart and soul into it, and that being at a forum like this is just fantastic because you see the groundbreaking stuff that people are doing, but then the selflessness for which they're ready to stand on the line. They're standing up and saying, "No, I believe in this.
I care,
and I'll take it on."
Yeah.
And that's far better than something trickling down from the top, or being forced down. And that's what I enjoy, getting out and seeing these projects where the local champions, like over in Adelaide, I bumped into a guy when I was doing a talk with Sophie Thompson from Gardening Australia, and there was a guy, Andrew, there, and he said, I've got this plan, I've started up this food cart, and it's like a food swap cart in the local neighbourhood. Like now he's got about 100 of them.
Fantastic.
And the beauty of that is it's not even centralising it digitally.
No.
It's going the other way. It's saying let's not create a system that tries to put it all into one place.
Yeah.
Let's keep it where it needs to be so that vegetable doesn't have to travel.
That's right.
That those books can be on the cart.
Yeah.
That the produce, but not only the produce, but the value added production.
Yep.
So whether it's the pickles or the kombucha or the sauerkraut or the whatever ferments can be on the trolley as well. And he's got 100 of them, and he's just going great guns.
And then just imagine what happens as a result of the connections that take place around that food van. The ripple effects that has would just be absolutely extraordinary. And it's about that connecting neighbourhoods, isn't it? And getting to know people who are there. I was looking at this study recently. It was saying that people who actually know their neighbours down the street have been identified actually happier and live a longer life. There is data for this. They live a longer life. Now, the other fact that I came across, I went to Paul Hawkins' presentation recently, and he was saying, this is another fact, we're just sort of sidestepping a bit, he was saying that actually the women, smallholders, grow more food than all of industrial agriculture completely. And I've been telling everyone that fact, every workshop I go to ever since.
Go the sisters.
Women on small holdings, less than 5 acres, are growing more food in the world than any of those tractor industrial systems. Now, isn't that an extraordinary thing? If you think about all the things that we're told, the story that we have in our brain about how we're going to feed the world's people. We're hearing today from Dave about we need a new story. The story is out there. We just have to listen. We're being fed kind of a bit of the wrong story, I think. The actual real story is something completely different. It supports what we're talking about here at a small scale, community-based, neighbourhood-based, interactive, maybe out of the monetary economy even. All of those things together weave together what we need to do to actually feed the world's people, address issues of poverty, homelessness, work. We're the only species in the whole planet that has unemployment. Really, it's kind of a little bit.
Yeah, that's a succinct way of putting it. And what you're talking about there with these women farmers is local, small scale, modular, flexible, resilient, capable of adapting to the local climate and most of all the local climate nuances that any disturbance thrown at them is not going to wipe them because they have a broad and diversified suite of food production at any one time.
So the polycultures, the perennials, and it's that food forest system that is also one of the really key things I think we need to look at to feed people, and it's just standing where we are now.
Well, like this, yeah, exactly. I mean, this beautiful Prostanthera, and medicinally, it has incredible potential. Yet, you know, we only know a little bit about it. If you had smell cam, I'd be able to just, I can smell that through the camera. That is brilliant.
Now this one over here is one of my favourites. This one grows in my garden at home.
Backhausia citriodora lemon myrtle.
Do you know what I do with this? I grab a leaf of this and I stick it in a bowl of handmade local yogurt, and I just let it infuse overnight, and I've got lemon myrtle yogurt. Yum.
And that's not a highly involved industrial process.
No, it's not.
Let's see that on the video. May I? Take leaf. Ta-da! Open container. Da-da-da-da-da. Place in. Close lid. Walk away.
Yes, that's it.
Return. 24 hours later. Taste. Oh, am I chewing leaf or chewing yogurt? It's yogurt.
And do you know how I discovered that? There's also down here some society garlic flowers. I was accidentally dropped one in some yogurt one night and went to have my muesli the next morning, and it was beautifully garlic flavoured yogurt. And I went, oh gosh, I wonder what else I can do with this.
That's like if you've ever been to a restaurant where you've ordered like a fruit for breakfast, and they've gone and cut the fruit with the garlic knife, and you go, there's something about my peach.
Yes, it
has a different bouquet about it.
I mean, look at this. Like, there's the figs up here, and there's the pineapple sage. The ground covers are all edible, so there's not really a weed issue here because there's so much stuff just
and I think, Morag, the thing that's most catching and exciting about this is that effectively it's barely 8 or 9 metres that way, and at any given point there's buildings pretty much towering around it. It gets certain windows of light, and looking ahead, for a lot of people in urban environments, these are the sorts of spaces that they are being left with. And this proves that even with limited light, you can still grow. Like, we could make a meal very capably out of a foraging of leaves from this space.
Absolutely. And then you have all the teas and there's the medicines too. All that side of the equation that is just, you know, we outsource everything about our lives. We outsource our medicine, we outsource our food. We're just consumers of everything. Whereas when you start doing this, you become makers, you become producers, and you don't have to be a primary producer to be an abundant grower. So
one, you mentioned about projects that I'm seeing around the country. One that I saw very recently, as recent as just 2 weeks ago, is in Launceston, and it's a car park, and they have Afghani refugees and asylum seekers there, and this is a space, you know, would barely be 4 metres, and so the cars stop there, and there's 4 metres between there and the fence, and they have turned it into beds, and each family has a bed.
Fantastic.
And they're just growing greens. They're growing edible green leaf that they live and breathe off.
Fantastic.
And, you know, and this is just, it had some ground covers and a few shrubs and pretty much was a bit of a wasteland. And now, I mean, it was great. There's these people gathering and they're looking after this land like it has, well, with the value that it does have.
That's right.
And I think this and that project and all these other projects that we've been hearing about over the last 2 days, it's recalibrating a true value on real estate. Not real estate for sale, but real estate for you know, growing security.
Totally. Really. And you know, when you come back from places like Southeast Asia and where food is everywhere, it's just food's dripping off trees, and
there'd be a few pots here and
everywhere.
Something hanging there, and a bench and a sort of shelf along here.
Oh, it'll be a whole lot of markets, people cooking up food on that, and you come back, you get off at the airport and you come down the streets, and then there's just nothing. And I always feel that sinking feeling of how much land that we just have around it that is a food desert. We talk about food deserts in terms of accessibility for shops, but when I look at it, when I'm looking through my food lens, I look at all the landscape that is around us and just feel a sadness that we don't see that actually there really is. We don't have an option whether we grow food or not, I don't think. I actually think.
And And I think I like to I like your terms of lens.
Yes.
I like lens. I actually call it my food goggles or my weed.
Oh, yes,
I call it my goggles.
Right.
So I put my, for example, I put my edible weed goggles on, and then I walk around and I say, oh, look, there's some food growing in the crack there between the pavement and the wall. But being able to make it fun and interesting like that, and say, go and put your goggles on.
Yeah, that's right.
Like even when I wear my gnome goggles, it's fun. And when you can break down the stereotypical approach that people have been infused with by a food system from as a youth, being forced that this is where it is and this is how you grow and this is what you eat and that is not something you eat. One or two comments that you sprinkle through all of your conversations, they're the things that are going to stick. When you talked about eating pumpkin leaves, there were people there they were doing these ones. Whoa, and you go, and then and it's the same with eating, broad bean shoots.
Yeah.
Like, why wait 130 days when you can actually be having a meal? Because then you won't actually have as many broad beans that bloat you up and make you go, if I have another feed of broad beans, I'm going to become a flatulent balloon somewhere up there, and you'll have to tether me down.
But that's the thing, we wait, we're looking, when's the pumpkin coming? When's the broad beans coming? When are the beans ready? When are the peas going to be ready? All those things, and edible things, as soon as they start shooting. And one of my favourites too would be the mustard spinach, which self-seeds everywhere. And I eat the shoots as they're coming up. They're like a spicy asparagus, and then they flower, they're all edible. The little pods are like little spicy peas, and then you've got the little black seeds, which I grind up and make as a kind of like like part of a curry or something.
Now I think our camera operator is getting a shoulder lock.
She got wobbly hands.
It's kind of, I know what you mean, Maya, after putting the two of us together who are just going blah blah blah, and poor Maya is just going, my shoulder is jammed. It's like, I can't hold this camera anymore.
She did say, should I be in the tripod? And I said, no, it would be right.
It's going, Mum, you're doing yet another interview and this guy won't shut up.
But she's a gregreat camera person.
She's a great camera person. She's holding steady, but I think she needs a break.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for wandering through this garden with us.
We didn't even start. That was just an entree.
Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to say was, imagine being a student at this institution, that you're learning how to cook, and all of a sudden, there's gardens around you. I don't know any other cooking school that has gardens that are
parsley, oregano, rosemary,
pineapple sage. Yep.
Nasturtium.
We're getting a bit tired.
It's getting to the artichokes. Citrus. Look, there's all sorts of Lebanese cress and bits and pieces in there. There's real artichokes. There's society garlic. There's what else can I see through there? There's a bit of kale. There's a bit of sad kale, but that's all right. It's had its season. Mints and strawberries. This place has got everything.
Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. No worries.
Thanks,
Take
Maya.
a break, Maya.